Bipolar rollers, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about the differences between men and women when it comes to bipolar. I bet you didn't know this, but there's like 46 million people worldwide that are living with bipolar disorder. It breaks down to, a slightly uneven split, right? 48% male and 52% female. And this pattern seen in almost all the countries. But there are other ways that bipolar is different between males and females. Just a quick reminder, bipolar 1, it's characterized by at least one episode of mania that affects functioning, right? And bipolar 2 is characterized by at least one episode of hypomania, a briefer and less severe form of mania, plus at least one episode of major depression. Rapid cycling, something that I have, is characterized by at least 4 episodes of mania, hypomania, depressive, or mixed episodes in any 12-month period. Now, bipolar 1 is seen more in men than women, and bipolar 2 is seen less often in men than women. According to the results of multiple studies, and that's what I'm kind of basing this all on, men experience their first episode of bipolar disorder before women, like by 4 or 5 years. Men are likely present with mania versus women, who are more likely to present with depression. So if you notice that your bipolar partner might be suffering differently, it just hits us, in very distinct and different ways. Like, we're less likely, us men, to have rapid cycling or seasonal episodes than women. Like, men are less likely to have phobia, panic disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, eating disorders, and borderline personality disorder than women, right? And the studies suggest that men are less likely to be diagnosed with hypomania and mixed episodes. So lucky me, I'm one of the the rarities. Now, we have similar rates of psychosis, such as delusions and hallucinations. Men are kind of reported to have higher rates of conduct and substance abuse disorders, compared to women. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with conduct disorder, but it's a clinical definition. It's characterized as a repetitive and a persistent pattern of behavior in which the basic rights of others or major age-appropriate societal norms or rules are violated, right? So conduct disorders, pretty serious, and more than likely to get you in lots of troubles with the law. Now, this kind of stuff may include bullying or threatening behavior, use of a weapon, stealing from someone's person, and so on. So there's a misperception in the general public and media that people with bipolar disorder, especially men, are physically aggressive and dangerous. The real story is that though there is an increased risk of aggression in men with bipolar disorder, this generally only applies to those who have substance abuse problems, that is, those who have addiction problems with tobacco, alcohol, and other drugs. That kind of stuff just kind of spirals and really makes the differences more obvious. As well as affecting behavior towards others, we can also see from research that substance abuse, as well as male gender and younger age of onset, are also associated with not sticking with a treatment plan, which is what I tell you guys a lot. You got to have some sort of treatment plan. You can't ignore it. I know I ignored my bipolar for years and years and years. In fact, kind of used the worst parts of it to my benefit in some ways. And I guess I was in kind of denial. I didn't really want to believe that I had bipolar disorder. I didn't really know if they knew for sure. I was skeptical of the whole thing. I just knew something was wrong. And I know I spent many years self-medicating, trying to fix that, right that wrong, And I'm sure a lot of you can relate. Self-medicating is pretty prevalent in our bipolar community. But that kind of stuff needs to be nipped in the bud, because worryingly, researchers in 2011, just that far back, suggested that 8% of men and 5% of women with bipolar disorder died from suicide. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but ultimately, those are lives lost over a condition that can be treated. Now, the next logical question is, why is there a difference between the figures for men and women? If we can understand the story behind these figures, then surely we can save some lives, right? Here's some points that I think are relevant. We know substance abuse is more common in men. Substance abuse means a slower recovery from bipolar disorder episodes and increased suicidal ideation. And substance abuse means a person is less likely to stick with taking their medications. Now, being a male is a risk factor by itself. Research continues to find out why. A Spanish study that showed that men to be less adherent to treatment than women. So we just don't want to. It's like us men just don't want to read the manuals when we get our toys. And it's the same with our brain. You know, we could save ourselves a lot of grief by sticking with the program. But men tend to resist more than women. The Spanish study covered a lot of ground, so there's a lot backing that up. But in a New Zealand study of people with bipolar disorder under specialist care, researchers found that men are more likely than women to have substance abuse disorder, or more likely to be convicted for crimes when unwell, and were also more likely to achieve compulsory treatment disorders and inpatient treatment. There's a study in Sweden that I read not too long ago that showed that women are as likely as men to take the initiative to stop lithium, but twice as likely to consult a doctor before taking action. A lot of that has to do with maybe they don't, there's a perceived lack of effectiveness, or, you know, maybe the side effects are potentially severe. It's particularly concerning finding when lithium is just as effective for men as it is for women. And because lithium is still the gold standard treatment for bipolar disorder and the only medication proven to reduce the risk of suicide, it makes it difficult because us guys tend to resist what we should know is good for us. So I guess the take-home message would be substance abuse is seen more frequently in men than women. It reduces the speed of recovery, guys. So, you know, despite all your self-medicating, you are actually taking longer to get better or to treat your bipolar disorder if you continue to self-medicate. Not only that, it reduces the ability to stick to a medication regime, and it increases the suicide risk. You know, the stuff we use to self-medicate is not going to make for a happier life. If anything, we already are on the spectrum for potential suicide. And so adding something that will make that more likely isn't a smart idea. Not only that, but stimulants and like amphetamines and cocaine, things like that, may induce mania and consequent risky, dangerous behaviors. And depressants like alcohol and benzodiazepines. Damn, I always had a problem with that word. Benzodiazepines, bear with me here, can trigger or exacerbate depression. So if substances might be affecting your mental health, you gotta get help. Thinking about stopping medication is not unusual in anyone taking long-term treatment. But if you feel that you no longer need to take a drug, you know, that's prescribed to you, not on the streets, my friends, see your doctor, and just to discuss things further. Like, there are a lot of warning signs that you shouldn't ignore. And one of them is finding yourself in a deeper depression, finding it difficult to want to get out of bed. Things that mainly more men suffer than women. But it's important to seek help and support from trusted people when you need it. You know, the stigma is a complex and strange beast, whether it comes from society or our culture, or even ourselves. Like, not having compassion for yourself can get in the way of seeking help and worsening your mental health, and then you can get caught in a vicious cycle. Don't let stigma be a barrier to living life well. You ought to follow a healthy lifestyle like the ones I've outlined before. Get lots of exercise, meditation, solfeggio harmonics, binaural beats, listen to some sound frequencies at night when you go to bed, see a therapist, you know, take long nature walks, find a trusted friend you can talk to, eat right. You know, there's a lot of stuff that really slows down our engine, so you want to put in something in your body that's broken down easily and it gives you the nutrients you need. Always follow a healthy lifestyle. You need a good routine, and sleep. Sleep patterns are so important. You will notice a difference immediately within 3 or 4 days. If you start getting the right amount of sleep, you'll find that your condition will be something so manageable for you. You want to reduce stressors where you can. Stay away from people who are bad for you, who trigger your negative emotions, who are always critical, who maybe ignore their own conditions. You don't have the luxury of being a villain in anyone's story anymore. You have to look out for yourself. So get away from people who tend to play victim or to use your condition as ammunition in arguments, that sort of thing. You need to be around trusted people, and a lot of those people are in the medical field. So get some therapy. Do things that make you happy, okay? It's really important. I love you guys, and I want you to make it through this. Get out there and make bipolar your bitch. Remember, represent.